Hey folks, this is Rhykker with a Diablo 4 video on the top 10 builds in Season 10 for pit pushing. These are the 10 most powerful builds that deal the most damage and have the most survivability to push the most challenging content in this game. If you want to test yourself to see how far you can go in the pit, then picking one of these 10 builds is what you're going to want to do. And because Season 10 is a season of power creep, you may be pushing further than you've ever pushed before. Do check out my ultimate Season 10 guide for how to get the most out of the season theme. And if you just want to know what builds are good to play all around for every class, I have my class tier list video that you can find as well. And as usual, all of my Diablo content can be found on my website, Rhykker.com, which brings us to a word from this video's sponsor. I built my website using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself quickly and easily and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Squarespace offers a ton of pre-made, professionally designed website templates for any kind of website, and also offers Blueprint AI, which is an AI-enhanced website builder to help you fully customize a beautiful-looking, personalized website made exactly for your needs and your unique identity. Squarespace even has optimized SEO tools so that you can launch your website and start getting views as quickly as possible through search engine traffic. Plus, it's got analytics to then review where your traffic's coming from. With Squarespace providing everything you need to engage customers, from easy online payment methods to built-in tools for inventory, shipping, and fulfillment. That includes custom merch. You just send in the designs and Squarespace handles everything else. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. So head to squarespace.com/Rhykker or click the link in the description to start your free trial and use code Rhykker to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain when you're ready to launch. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Rhykker. Now, before we hit the top 10, we're going to start with an honorable mention, a rogue build, and the only rogue build we're going to talk about. That's how far behind rogue is in pit pushing. The build is Heartseeker, which actually came out of nowhere. I did not see Heartseeker making a comeback in Season 10, but here we are. I used to love Heartseeker. It's a basic attack build that uses the Shard of Varathiel unique that juices up your basic skill damage, but makes some cost resource. And then you want to stack about 21 points into the Heartseeker skill. That takes us to number 10, a sorcerer build, Ball Lightning. Yes, Ball Lightning has had a comeback. When you're pit pushing, you'll want to go for max damage, and for that, you're going to bring out the Strike of Stormhorn unique focus. Now, Strike of Stormhorn is an interesting item here. As an implicit property, it has chance for Ball Lightning projectiles to cast twice, is converted to chance to cast a Super Ball Lightning. So any tempers or anything that is giving you a chance to cast Ball Lightning twice, instead, you're going to get a Super Ball Lightning. What does that mean? It's not the Super Bowl, but still great. So the other modifier here on Strike of Stormhorn, Ball Lightning splashes on impact, dealing 300% of its total damage instantly, and it stuns enemies for 1 second if it reaches its max range. Super Ball Lightnings are larger. They deal 125% increased damage. That's more than double. Have a higher lucky hit chance, and their stun duration is increased to 3 seconds. So they really live up to their name. So you'll be spamming Ball Lightning on enemies, and you want to take advantage of as well the Galvanic Azurite Pants. Lightning damage leaves enemies magnetized for 4 seconds, causing them to emit crackling energy, and increasing all lightning damage they take from you by a bunch. If two magnetized enemies hit each other with crackling energy, they pull each other together. So this is a self-grouping ability. Enemies will be grouped together, making them therefore more susceptible to your Ball Lightnings. Moving on to number 9, a barbarian build, Lunging Strike. Now, this is a dual primary build, and it's still coming together as to what the best execution of this is. We're seeing some really crazy stuff coming out of China right now. So the version that I'm looking at is using Lunging Strike as a primary along with Bash as a secondary, and is also working in Hammer of the Ancients as a way to bring even more damage multipliers into the fold. We're looking at the Chaos Power, Unstable Power, which makes your basic skills guaranteed to crit and overpower for double damage, but gives them a 3-second cooldown. Then we got the dual threat Chaos Power, which makes casting a basic skill also use another equipped basic skill, dealing 80% of normal damage. So whenever you use either Bash or Lunging Strike, it's going to activate both. They're each on 3-second cooldowns, so you're able to pop each of those every 1.5 seconds. We're using a Shard of Varathiel to buff our basic skill damage. We're working in the new Saber of Tazgal to gain increased damage for each damaging skill you have equipped. and another multiplier for 15 seconds when each of those skills is used. So this build is really, I was going to say flask piano. If you know the reference, you know the reference. You are constantly spamming your buttons with this build. That takes us to number 8, the Quill Volley Spiritborn. This build is going to make use of Chaos Armor to wield the power of both the Rod of Kepaleki as well as the Sepazontek, both weapons. The Rod of Kepaleki will turn Quill Volley into a basic skill. The Sepazontek turbocharges your basic skills. This combination, in fact, enables a lot of Spiritborn builds this season, and then we're just kind of filling out with more damage and toughness multipliers. Then coming in at number 7, we have the Minion Necromancer. Minion builds on the rise this season. Now this variant of a summoner build is going to be using Grim Reapers, the Chaos perk that makes your Skeleton Warriors attacks have a 25% chance to use Reap, your own skill Reap, which is why you're going to want to turbocharge your skill tree to buff up Reap, dealing 150% of normal damage instead of the regular attacks. So of course you get the Shard of Arathiel to buff our basic skills. We use the Unstable Power Chaos perk, which again buffs our basic skills but gives them a 3-second cooldown, but hey, who cares, because it's our minions triggering the basic skill. And that takes us to number 6, the best Necromancer build, Shadow Blight. This is the best Necromancer build by far, and it's all based on the Shadow Blight Keystone passive. Shadow damage infects enemies with Shadow Blight for 2 seconds. Every 8th time an enemy receives shadow damage from you while they are affected by Shadow Blight, they take an additional 200% multiplicative shadow damage. And Shadow Blight's damage is increased by 70% of your corrupting damage and shadow damage bonuses up to 450%. So basically, we want to be hitting enemies as quickly as possible to get to that 8th instance of shadow damage. This build requires an entirely different kind of gearing than normal, where normally you're just looking like, okay, here's one skill, what are all the damage multipliers for this skill? No, your skills now are just delivery systems for the Shadow Blight damage. So you're going to want to equip darkness skills, you're going to want to equip skills and turn them into darkness skills, like Blighted Corpse Explosion, right? Turns Corpse Explosion into a darkness skill. And instead of just exploding once, it turns it into a dot, giving it the ability to tick multiple times or have enemies walk into it. We're going to want to take the Ebon Piercer in order to transform Blight into a skill that also shoots 4 smaller projectiles that pierce enemies, meaning it goes through them, can hit multiple enemies, and deals corrupting damage over time. Again, damage ticks. And then Soul Rift, our ultimate. This is a corruption damage thing, right? For 8 seconds, you consume surrounding enemies, dealing corrupting damage per second. You might think, well, that's great and all, but I can only pop it once every 50 seconds. I probably got to stack a bunch of cooldown, right? Not in Season 10, because of the Chaos perk, Alter the Balance. Your base, sorry, I'm so excited I bumped my mic here. Your base core skills are now empowered as ultimate skills, and your base ultimate skills are now altered to also be core skills. So, your alts are now core skills. They cost 70 essence, but that means no more cooldown, meaning you will be able to maintain your Soul Rift at all times. So you have a Shadow Storm spinning around you constantly, dealing damage ticks to multiple enemies. Season 10 makes Shadow Blight reach its ultimate form. That takes us to number 5, a Druid build, Shred. Shred's a really fun build. I played it on PTR. It is really fast, very mobile, struggles a bit on single target damage. Shred has a number of different legendary aspects that buff it. We're going to want to work them all in. We're going to be constantly critically hitting thanks to the Purge the Infected Chaos perk. Dealing direct damage to a poisoned enemy guarantees a crit, and well, enemies are going to be constantly poisoned with this build. Speaking of poisoned, I'll also make special mention of the Flesh Render variant of Shred. That is still a solid option in Season 10. With the Flesh Render variant, Shred is not your damage dealer. The Flesh Render unique is. Defensive skills deal damage to nearby poisoned enemies. So again, either way, you're going to be constantly poisoning enemies, but with the Flesh Render variant, you're going to be popping your defensive skills to actually deal the damage. That takes us to number 4, the Spiritborn Crushing Hand build. This build is all about spamming Crushing Hand. You'll be leaning on the Unrelenting aspect to buff the damage of your Crushing Hand, and thanks to the Chaos Armor of Season 10, you can actually work 2 different weapons into this build by putting them on Chaos Armor, whether it's your helm, your gloves, your pants, your boots, or your chest. And that's going to be the Sepazontek as well as the Rod of Kepaleki. The Sepazontek makes your basic skills deal increased damage and always use their 3rd attack, And the Rod of Kepaleki makes your core skills now additionally basic skills and free to cast. And when cast at max resource, your core skills consume all your resource to cast at their largest size with guaranteed crits, just lots of big buffs all around. That takes us to number 3, the Druid Companion build. If there's a season to play a minion build, this is it. Ravens are going to be our star here. You're going to have a full unkindness of ravens surrounding you. It's a murder of crows. A group of crows is a murder. A group of ravens is an unkindness. You can't make this up. We're going to take the One with Nature key passive that makes our companion skills each gain 1 additional companion and deal a bunch more damage. We're going to take the Shepherd's aspect. Companion skills deal additional damage per companion you have. We're going to use the new unique item, the Kilt of Blackwing. Ravens deal increased damage, and shapeshifting into a different form or activating a companion skill summons a raven that attacks nearby enemies. Summoning a raven has a chance to call forth an unkindness for 10 seconds, increasing the number of ravens summoned to 3 for the duration. So many ravens being summoned here. We're also going to take the Stormcrow's aspect to make ravens deal lightning damage and have their damage increased. We're going to use the new seasonal perk, the Chaos perk, Savagery, that makes your companion skills turn them into core skills and makes your companions grow in size and deal 30% increased damage. At that point, it's just about building up all the synergistic damage multipliers. That takes us to number 2, the Spiritborn Payback build. Let's look at the Payback skill to begin with. It's got a 15-second cooldown. You smash enemies in front of you, dealing damage. And when you're attacked, you have a chance to reduce Payback's active cooldown. So we're going to take the Poised Payback skill upgrade. That turns Payback into a core skill. And then we're going to use the Rod of Kepaleki in order to turn core skills into basic skills and make them free to cast. So with this combo, every time we cast Payback, we're going to blow through our entire resource pool. The more resource we blow, the better the effect. So we want to be able to restore all of our resource really easily. So that's where the A Beast Cornered Chaos perk comes in. Spending resources also drains the percentage of your life, equal to 30% of the resources spent, refunding those resources. Stack a bunch of resource generation, and we're going to be instantly restoring all of our resource. Now you might say, hey, but that leaves us with only 10% life. That's why we focus on generating barrier instead, which is basically a separate life pool. That takes us to number 1, another Druid build here. We have Pulverize. I love Pulverize. This is the build that I'm running. Now, if you're building up a Pulverized Druid over time, you first need the Shockwave aspect to really get it online. But then the next step up where it transforms into something else, something far more powerful, is when you get the Rotting Lightbringer. This is a unique weapon. It makes Pulverize form a puddle around you, and while enemies are in that puddle, you are guaranteed to overpower, and it's going to deal a bunch of extra damage. And casting Pulverize also causes all nearby puddles to splash their damage for a lesser amount of damage, but nonetheless, it adds up. The Druid has insane Chaos perks this season. Overabundance. Every 50 spirit you generate above your max increases your damage by 10% for 5 seconds. This bonus stacks, but does not refresh. This works out to a huge damage multiplier. Then Purge the Infected. Your core skills also apply 200% of their base damage as poisoning over 4 seconds. And dealing direct damage to a poison enemy spends 5 spirit to be a guaranteed crit. Then we use the Brawn over Brains Chaos perk, which makes us deal even more overpower damage. And like we said, with that Rotting Lightbringer, we are guaranteed to overpower. We work in the Ursine Strength key passive. This buffs us so that when we are in a werebear form, which we will be at all times, we're going to deal even more overpower damage. And then we're filling things out by buffing our crit damage, as well as buffing our grizzly bear form. So that, folks, wraps up our top 10, but the season will continue to evolve. We'll have an update video coming out a little bit later in the season, maybe a week or two, to see what new builds have emerged, what has risen to the top, anything unexpected. So do check back and sound off in the comments with what builds you think should also be in the top 10. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more Diablo content.